It's wonderful to welcome all of you. And that's my first disciple, Shruti Gupta Chandra, who has become a painter also. And she is, because of her, I started dancing. I started teaching, not dancing. Sorry. I started, I started dancing much before she was born. I started teaching, and therefore that laid the foundations of our ASAVARI Center, and through which we have been doing all our festivals, teaching students, and many students have passed our portals who have set up their own institutions and become great recognized artists themselves. This evening, as Shruti was mentioning, that it's Vividh-Mat. We started many years ago, we've forgotten also, because and we were trying to remember all the various topics that we had covered over the last so many years. And as the name suggests, it is on perspectives. And for that, this evening, we are so, I would request our friend, everyone, by the way, is a friend. Each one of us is a friend to each other, and I'm so happy that we have this audience with us who are actually such a, I think, creme de la creme of our society, to see our friend over here who set up the Asian Film Institute in Noida and then has made it into such a great center, and also opened a university. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you. He's, you know everybody, this Mr. Kapur. So, sorry, Sandeep Marwa, not Kapur, Sandeep Marwa. I mean, look at me, I'm becoming old. No wonder my 75 years is showing. Sandeep Marwa. And don't mind me if I take somebody else's some other name. So that's quite possible that will happen. And so each one of you happens to be here who is a friend. And we have great stalwarts over here. And I would like to welcome each of the stalwarts, starting with Jatin Das. And I would like to welcome him with a small little token from our side. Ambassador Suresh Goyal.
Thank you very much.
Sohaila Kapur ji. Sudeep Sen, you are the youngest, so I've come to you. Today we chose this topic, Shringar. And I won't dwell much on the word Shringar, because I leave it to all our speakers to give their perspectives on it. But it is a word which means so much to so many different things to so many different persons. And it does. Excuse me, the lightwalas, our speakers want the light ball rolling, and I hand it over to Suresh ji after that. Is that it is one of the first ras, of course, in our Navras. When our dear friend wrote Bharat Natya Shastra, it was Ashtaras. And then later on, one was added to it, which earlier was part of Shringar. we had Shringara consumes, subsumes everything. Yet, what does it mean to us? If you look at, if for some people it ranges from just mere love, in the normal sense of the word, which the youngsters know, and to something which is depicted on sculptures, it goes into the other extreme, but it is beyond that also. It is something beyond. It is all, perhaps we could also address whether it is the absence of egoism within a person, the absence of the negativity within a person when it brings out the positivity. But so this is just to say that there are so many different aspects of Shringara. And with that, and therefore we thought that, and it has so many colors and so many, within the color, so many other colors are subsumed in it. So that means so many non-colors in it. And therefore, and now with that, I hand it over to Sureshji to take it forward. And do I need to introduce all my speakers? Because each one of them is so famous in their own right. I mean, whatever I'm going to say is going to be just a drop in the ocean. We have Jatin Das, who is such an acclaimed painter, sculptor, thinker, that he also defines, he's become synonymous with art, visual arts, and who has set new standards and charted new paths. And at the same time, not only that, he has another dimension to him, is his phenomenal collection of fans. When I say fans, not only the fan, but it is the fans. It is what a phenomenal collection of both kinds of fans. And it's and he's got a whole museum now, which I think is quite something to see his museum, the museum that he has set up. So he is somebody who has really raised the bar. Then we have Sohaila. Sohaila has again defined another aspect to theatre, and how, and the playwriting that she does, and the theatre. It's oozes with sensitivity and oozes with thought and depth. And we have Sudeep Sen. Sudeep is again a poet who, his command over his language, his thoughts, and it's amazing. I've been witness to it that he's been sitting over there. He's last time at a performance of mine, if I have the liberty to mention that, at a performance, he just saw one broken brooch lying over there, and how it sparkled, and it was phenomenal to see the poetry which he wrote after that. It encompassed so many different layers of thoughts, so many dimensions in that little sparkle, in that gleam, in that, and yet it was extremely philosophical also. So wonderful. So we have all these, and then Ambassador Suresh Goyal, who was one of the most dynamic Director Generals of ICCR that we have ever seen. And he really galvanized, and he gave such a life and momentum to the whole world of art, performing arts and visual arts. So,
thank you,
to Suresh.
I was wondering when I could get to say something. Thank you. And I'm not going to say Shovana ji, Sohaila ji. I think we are known so well. I'm going to basically drop the, if you don't mind.
No,
right.
There's one person I can always say, Madam Sir.
Okay. So anyway, and Shovana, with your permission, what I would like to do is that start with everybody saying something on what they from their area for 5 minutes. And then I enjoy conversation, and I see so many people who are experts, in fact, and who will have a lot to contribute to what we are talking about. And then there is young generation sitting over there. I think it will be useful to get something from the younger generation to react to what is being said by us old foggies here. And I think that's important, because I do believe that any kind of art form, if we confine it to ages, it is dead. We have to have the new blood, we have to have experimentation, we have to have new ideas, and that is where you come in. Okay, to start, Shobana, you have already laid down the foundation or the backdrop for what we think about Shringara. I was thinking about what Shringara really should be. I mean, it is, of course, one of the emotions, one of the sensations that we feel. The first thing that when we spoke about Shringara is I thought that it is our civilization where, rather than moralizing of Shringara and reducing it to just eroticism, where we actually celebrate the sensations, where we celebrate the human body, because it is only through the human body that we interact with the outside, and then we can experience outside. So all these sensations are part of our life, and we are actually trained or told to enjoy the life that has come to us, rather than censure that, no, this is bad, this is good, leave it out, don't do this, don't talk about this. But we actually experience life in all its forms. So that Shringara becomes very important in that sense, not just as eroticism, but as appreciation of beauty and appreciation of love for that beauty. And when we talk about this, immediately the examples come. In fact, what I thought is that Shringara is not just Shringara, it is not just Radha and Meera for Krishna. I mean, where does Shringara stop and where does Bhakti begin? Jayadev, when he wrote Geet Govind, was it pure eroticism? If you read Jayadev's Geet Govind, there are so many shlokas, chand, where actually it is pure bhakti. So there you have the kind of submerging of bhakti with Shringara. So therefore, I think when we talk about Shringara, it is a human sensation. It is not to be secluded or excluded as something which only, but it can be combined with the other sensations. And then comes, how do we express that feeling in form? And that is where you have the poetry coming through, you have the paintings, physical form, theatre, dance and everything. So what I thought I will do is, we have stalwarts of different forms of expression of these sensations. We have a well-known dancer here, theatre, sculpture and painting, poetry. So I thought each one will speak about what they think about Shringara through their own medium of expression. And then we can have conversation, interactions, either way that you want. I hope that is okay with all of us. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to begin with you, Shobana. I'm sorry, you put me on the spot, and I'm going to put you on the spot now here.
The speaker.
No, you are a speaker now. No. I'm the moderator. I choose who the speakers are. Come on. So Shobana, and now we all know she's a well-known dancer and everything. Or we all know that. Now, the thing is that dance is, there is a whole Natya Shastra and everything. I'm not going to talk about that. But the fact is that dance is not just movement. Dance is expression. Dance is bringing the fusion of those facial expressions, abhinaya, etc., into the movement and produce something, a total experience. There are dancers I know who will basically be able to convey everything just through the movement of their eyes. It's a heavenly feeling. There are dancers who just sit and do abhinaya on the stage, and it's an experience again, basically. I remember, Shobana, when I was DG ICCR, I decided to do an event celebrating the centenary of Delhi, and Shobana ji had done Dilli Ki Mehfil for us at that time. Now that is somehow because how Delhi gets associated with the art forms. So that was one of the art form. So Shobana, I'm going to ask you, as a dancer, how do you see Shringar and Bhakti and total immersion into the what you feel? How does that happen? How does it come about?
For me, Shringar is part of life. It is life. Because there's aesthetics in life, there's order in life, there's beauty in life. So it is how you look at it. Even whatever you see or touch has its own beauty, its own color and identity. It is how you appreciate. So it's also the eye of appreciation. It is also the eye of experience, the rasa that you draw from it. Now, when you're talking about bhakti, that is also part of it, because there is a sense of reverence and awe, as well as a sense of oneness. So the moment that oneness comes in, then you are with it. Now, in that moment of oneness, you are experiencing Advaita. You are and you come from various aspects, from the many. You have to pass through the many to come to that oneness. And so you see so many different, and then yet you find a certain sense of peace inside, which brings you to that end. As a performer, when we are performing, when I'm just talking, that whatever we may do, whichever character, even, I would say, that even when we are doing a Vibhats character, even in that Vibhats character's role, there is, when you become one with it, there is a different kind of aesthetic oozing out. I'm using the word aesthetic, because which finally, actually, you are involved in it, and so are the others. And so it binds everyone together. If it had not been, if there was a discordant note, then it would have gone astray. So there has to be concordance. There has to be oneness. And that is how Advaita comes in.
Great. That's a great beginning. I think 3 cheers to her. You have really laid the ground here. Let me just ask you one question here. You said oneness. Now, most of the Indian classical dance forms is not those choreographies with normally it is one dancer on the stage, and the dancer has the full latitude to really bring to life whatever character, whatever you have in mind. Therefore, it is importance of one dancer to express the. In that sense, there is a word in Sanskrit called ahem, and you use the word oneness. How do you distinguish ahem from that oneness?
That's to begin with. I mentioned Shringar. When that ahem, everybody has a bit of a self. The self within, there is, the limits is okay, but when it goes beyond, one has to know one's boundaries. And when it becomes ahem, it is different. It is when it is egoistical arrogance which reigns supreme, it is different. And that comes out. It shows in the dance. So there it is, there is no oneness in it. There is still you're in the two-ness of it. Because you're still yourself. It is not. It reminds me of a saying of Kabir. जब मैं था, that is अहम, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है तो मैं नहीं, प्रेम गली अति सांकड़ी जामे दो न सुनाई.
Young people, please note these words. You're going to ask her afterwards. Okay. All right. Moving on. I'm not going to go, but I'll just go from here to there. It's easier for me to remember. Sohaila, theatre, Now, on the way from Greater Noida, which is a long way off, and I have 1 hour to think about things, I was trying to, I was trying to think in theatre of any one example where you talk of an expression of Shringara. And to be very honest, I thought and thought and thought. Nothing would come to my mind. So I thought, first of all, I will ask you to give examples of some great productions which focus on Shringara. Number one. Number two, how does it happen that while the stage productions where you actually have things happening on, and there are huge numbers which I've admired, your plays, I've admired them a great lot. But if you go to the movies, and I'm asking you because you're also a movie person. You have movies in your blood, you can't change it. Okay. So, now if you think of movies, there is any number where they have dealt with the issue or the subject of Shringara in many ways. So, first of all, how does it happen that there is such a gap between theatre and the movies? Why? If there is. And because I remember whenever I think of Shringara, one movie which comes to my mind is always Navarang. Remember the old movie Bharat Bhushan, etc. And I still remember the dance of Gopi Krishna. Yes. Then Gopi Krishna dance and the dance of that late, who was that actress? Sandhya. Doing the film. Doing the dance of both man and woman.
Yeah.
So anyway, over to you.
Well, you have Abhigyan Shakuntalam, Kalidas's play.
Yeah.
Play which is nothing but Shringara.
But it was never performed on the stage?
It's been performed many times at the NSD festival, other festivals. It's one of the most popular classical plays in Delhi.
My loss.
Yeah. So, no. So that is there. Theatre is full of Shringara ras because Shringara doesn't only mean love and intimacy. It gives birth to a lot of other emotions which are probably ephemeral, but the parentage is the same. There's anger, there's jealousy, that comes out of love. If you're spurned by someone you love, there is anger. Who is he going with? There's jealousy. So Shringara spans a lot of emotions, and what is theatre but Navarasa, If we don't have these emotions in our plays, then it's not a play. Then it's not a mirror of your reality. Of course, it goes beyond reality into the space of thought, and it could be spiritual also, but it is a mirror of reality, basically. So I think Shringara is everywhere in plays. You can't produce a play that does not have Shringara in its various aspects. And as far as movies and theatre are concerned, there is not much. The biggest difference is songs. We can't afford to put up a huge project, a big song sequence. We can't, because it takes crores of rupees. I think that's the major difference. But as far as story is concerned, they Shringara in theatre, they Shringara in films. Very similar. A lot of films are adapted into theatre and vice versa. How are they adapted if they're not similar? So there's a lot of give and take between the two mediums, I think.
Would you like to give any example of actual play, not Abhigyan Shakuntalam and Meghdut? They are also, in fact, those are the examples which came to my mind as to where we have lost our own sense of Shringara over a period of time, that we don't talk about those plays anymore. But I was mistaken. So clearly.
It's one of the most popular classics.
So, which one, in the recent genre, contemporaries, which are the plays which deal with Shringaras? Can you give examples?
Which are the plays? Well, like I said, all of most of Kalidas's plays. There's also Bhavbhuti, and you have modern plays. You have. I'll have to really think about them, but I will have to.
This is what happened to me.
Yeah. Jasma Oden. I'll have to really go back because and make a list of it. But a number of plays, even if the theme isn't centered around love as such, love and intimacy. Like I said, there are always other aspects of emotions involved. You could have a play which is focusing just on jealousy. You know, you could have a crime genre, for instance, that has a lot of anger, jealousy, that has a lot of sense of, you know, defeating the other's purpose to come out a winner yourself. So I think all these emotions are involved. The mother of all these emotions, I think, is Shringara. That's the way I feel. And so that way, every play would have Shringara in it, I would think.
Okay.
If you unless you're taking a very narrow view of it, that Shringara is only love. It is not. In my view, it is not.
Okay.
It's a broad band of emotions, I feel, which arise out of love,
Right.
which arise out of human relationships.
Would you call crime also, in that case, part of Shringara?
Well, crime of passion. You
Yes,
use the
that's a
word
good-
passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We will come to that later
Yes, sure.
in the conversations. Jatin sir, good morning. Now, I mean, we all know Jatin. He is the most celebrated artist of the physical form, whether it is sculpture or painting or whatever it is. When I got introduced to Jatin, which was around 10 years ago, when I just come to Delhi, before that also, I had met you when I just came from Laos and you were at dinner in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Which are the most interesting parts in the human form and the human mind that you find which attract you to draw the form on paper or in sculpture? If you have to really say that this is what actually attracts me.
Before I say this, this evening is a very intimate evening. The audience is very closer to the speakers. My request is the next time anybody doing a program should not introduce anybody. There should be introductory sheets available at the entrance, and everybody should pick up one and read it 10 minutes before coming in, so that we don't waste any time at a discussion, number one. Number two, it's very lovely, it's so intimate, it's very rare that we have a dialogue. When I came here, I didn't come prepared for anything. I normally, when somebody comes to see me, they send their resume. I don't read it. I read it later, but I meet the person and intuitively I react with the person, then I know the inner energy of that person. That's the attitude I have. I don't know whether others have the same. While Shovana is talking about the Shringara, we should talk about the Navarasa first. You know, the 9. You see, one thing very extraordinary, this is a very unique country where every aspect of life has been dug up and has been discussed threadbare for many, many, many centuries. We are nobody to, you know. So, when even a royal, Rajkumar goes to an ashram, he says to the Guru, I want to learn music. So, then you go to the Guru who is playing mridangam. And thereafter to many Gurus, then eventually he is put up in the garden to look after animals, to wash clothes and grow plants. And 2 years after that, the Guru wakes up in the middle of the night in winter and says, let's have a bath in the river. Then you sit on the rock, now you do sa. By then the Rajkumar had intimate relationship with nature, with plants, animals and all that. and the kala of the nadi, all that. So, we have had different attitude, different approach to our learning. Say, in innumerable evenings when there is a discussion at different parts of the country, we have, at the end of the discussion, you can intervene and you can ask some questions. Okay, then, and that's finished, and this is time. What I would like to suggest, while we are talking, anybody in the audience have a right to interrupt and intervene. The audience and the speaker is not important. What is important is the subject. The subject is very important, so we should participate in that subject threadbare and discuss. Then when you are talking about Shringara, rasa, then we have to first of all know what is Navarasa. Why is it in our country, in every aspect of art and aesthetics, and every aspect of life, there are odd numbers, not even numbers. If you say 5 senses, Navagraha, Navarasa, everything is an odd number. And sorry? Trinity. Yeah. So, then we have been educated to a greater aspect of westernized attitude to living and arts. So, there is a confusion, and there is when you're talking of visual art, when you're talking of literary arts, and so on, our ancient concept to arts were totally different. I remember my sister was studying in Shantiniketan, and a famous dancer of India was asking her, so will you tell me something about Krishna? So she said, unless I talk about Radha, I can't only talk about Krishna. She said, no, I'm in a hurry, So likewise, if you are talking all the arts, you have to digest, share, and exchange concepts of all the three arts together. Like quite often in the Western concept, they talk about both sides of a coin. It's like coffee and sugar together, So, when I'm talking of Navarasa, Navagraha, Panchamrita, Saptarushi, etc. So all are odd numbers. That is one. Number two, when you talk of Prakriti and Purusha, the form in nature doesn't take place unless Prakriti and Purusha is together. They can't be separated. Quite often, like we are saying, we know each other. We frankly don't know each other very well. If we meet every day for a drink, for dinner, for lunch, for a walk, then we get to know each other. I remember in my house once a couple came and I asked the lady, will you have a drink? And he said, she doesn't drink. And she turned around and said, in Jatin's house, I'll have a gin and tonic. No, please, and believe me, there is a publisher called Vakils in Bombay. And he's a gentleman, and I don't know whether he's still there or not, the most important publisher of art things. And when he was very proper, when he used to come, he used to stay in the Oberoi, but stay by the window which will look at the swimming pool. So he can look at all the swimmers, So each one of us behave differently in different location, in different situation, in different country, and in different arena. So, say, Sudeep, I know him as a poet. But we don't really know each other enough to share. So recently I've written a poem that many of my friends, this young lady, the great dancer, she doesn't even know that I write poetry. No, seriously. Even in the art world, no, not only, but even in the art world, many people don't know. We had a poetry group in Bombay, at Jahangir Art Gallery, Samovar, in 1960 to 65, and where Nisay Musical, Arun Kolarkar, Dilip Chitre, Arvind Kishan Mehrotra, Guy Patel, all of us, we had a group with no outsider, no journalist, and no other friends other than us. And each one read his poems that afternoon, So, everything has changed immensely. If I tell somebody, have a kacha haldi in the morning, and he or she asks me, the educated person, how to eat kacha haldi, I say, throw it to the sky and open your mouth. No, I'm giving a metaphoric example to, I was just telling before coming here, that one day I was having a show at India Habitat Center Gallery about 15 years ago. A lady friend of mine came with another lady. In my show, the other lady asking me, what do you do? I said, मैं घास काटता हूँ. No, then she comes running and say, of course, I know. No, she said, no, this is an
और बड़ी
artist.
साफ घास काटते हैं. अगर आपको एक्सपीरियंस करना है बुला लीजिएगा कभी.
नहीं, कहने का मकसद ये है that if we come to an evening to share, my request I come with the same attitude as if I know nothing. And let's share. Let's share with complete emptiness, with complete open-mindedness. Because when I'm saying it, when I sit to draw, as if I have not drawn before. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Metaphorically and physically. So, returning back to Shringara, as I said, Prakriti and Purusha, inseparable. And as I said, every aspect of life is Prakriti and Purusha, otherwise there is no form. Otherwise it's formless. And the other thing is, we are not rooted to the aesthetic sensibility of our context. I don't mean just the country, but the context. I knew the great dancer, what's her name? The South Indian dancer who used to stand and... Bala Saraswati. Bala Saraswati used to carry matti on her head to keep the body erect. And that was the training for dancers. Am I right? And likewise, when I was telling a professor yesterday that when I was a student in JJ in Bombay, we were asked to have minimum 20 sketches to enter the class. Okay? And I used to do 300 sketches a day by saving money instead of going by bus and buying the paper in Rattal. What I'm trying to say, that there is a deeper exercise. You see, all the classical singers do riyaz in the morning, riyaz in the evening. Frankly, in the visual arts, it's a flirtation. This country has such a rich background and history and available material on plastic art, sculpture, architecture, painting. You see, a lady holding the load as if she's just holding some flowers, but she is actually holding the load in a temple, And art and architecture is inseparable, like coffee and sugar, as I said. So dance and painting. Yeah. ये monitor है.
करना पड़ता है. I'm sorry.
नहीं, but I forgot what I was saying. Please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you one very simple question. If we look at the traditions of Indian aesthetics, there are many examples, and I'm not going to name everything, right from the Mohenjo-daro times, where they have celebrated the human form. Where they have revered the human form because that's a source of life, birth and death and everything. And there, most of those things demonstrate a kind of a curiosity. You look at the Ajanta caves, the murals over there, there is a curiosity about life there. Now, my question to you is, do you think we have lost that curiosity and that celebration for life along the way to a modern India, or does it still exist?
Yeah, curiosity is another thing altogether.
And celebration of life.
I think what has really gone wrong in Asia is the kind of education that we have, which has alienated us from our roots. You know, if you sit on the ground, we used to sit on the ground and eat. Am I right? And if you sit on the ground, a lot of people can't sit on the ground because their knees will pain. And these are again a metaphoric example. Whether in your dance school, music school, architecture, painting, in every art school that we have, any form of art school, it is alienated from this country's heritage. Heritage which has gone for thousands of years. And I'm not talking of flying the flag of India. I'm talking, these are the basics of all over the world, but much more discussed, threadbare in this country in the past. So, please.
Thank you.
Please.
It's important. Sudeep, poetry is not my forte. Therefore, I'm not able to really say anything in great detail. But I know, and that is where actually when Sohaila was saying about Vigyan Shakuntalam, Meghdud, etc., Jade, we have had this kind of tradition. Now, do you again see the tradition remaining alive in India? Do you see lots of modern poetry written to celebrate the life and Shringara?
So, good evening. Very happy New Year, and hope it's safe and creative. Safe being the operative word. I have to say, Dr. Goel, that the young generation, Suresh, the young generation is not as removed from the fabric of Indian culture as you may think, just because the younger generation is younger. Just to give you an example from my own younger life, relatively speaking, I grew up in a Bengali family. Poetry was not something that I was expected to pursue because very wisely my parents put me in I was studying science, pure science, purely because what do you do with poetry? It's a nice passion, it's a nice hobby, but what do you really do with poetry? However, the contradiction was in my family, the arts was celebrated in a way that was very holistic. The fact that we are sitting here together in oneness is an example of Shringara.
Beautiful.
The fact that you're looking at me and I have eye contact with you and I can see every little nod and movement of various people is an act of connection and oneness. Depends on how we calibrate the wavelength and so on and so forth. You brought up a very interesting point. I will digress a little bit. You brought up a very interesting point of odd numbers. There is a scientific reason which goes back, it's not an Indian tradition necessarily, but perhaps it is. The reason things are in odd numbers is in science, it has to be asymmetrical for things to be symmetrical. For example, you have the proton, neutron, and the electron. You can't have the two polarities balancing each other if you don't have the fulcrum. And what does the fulcrum do? It just basically calibrates how the scale is going to tilt. And how does the scale tilt in the arts? Say music, you have the music board in front, mixing board in front of you, the bass, the treble, the mid notes, and so on, the range. Actually, it's just like the two polarities which we are calibrating depending on the Shringara we want out of that particular music form. Having said all that, my interest in poetry came purely because my parents recited poetry by heart. It's not necessarily English poetry, it was English poetry as well, but Bangla poetry, Hindi poetry, Urdu poetry. So a lot of my training is very classical, because the first 3 books I, for instance, wrote was very, very formal. And the reason it was formal is because my sense of rhythm came from my grandparents and my mother and so on. When she would pray, we had a puja room in our house, and the chanting of the prayers actually taught me the syllabics of how to use rhyme, meter, and so on and so forth. We think of rhyme and meter and prosody only as an English construct, except that it's not. It's very much part of the Indian tradition. So, for instance, an early poem I had written called Durga Puja, I wrote it in a way that the original text is in couplets. So the English poem, which I wrote after various drafts and finally the final form, the structure was in couplets which mimicked the original of the Bangla or Sanskrit. The beats, every line had a metrical beat, which also in English replicated the exact metrical beat. Now, I wouldn't be able to write in English properly had I not been brought up in the tradition of the Navrasas, the Indian arts. So I don't think the younger people are very divorced from that. I can go on and on because it's a technical thing. Let me just present to you maybe 3 or 4 poems, because that actually explains what we do rather than just pontificating constantly. So let me just start with a short poem, which, since we started off with dance, this poem is inspired by a Kathak performance. And it's simply titled Kathak. In fact, I saw the show upstairs, in the Stein. It's I'm not going to name the dancer. Kathak. Deep within the eyes of a dancer, irises and poems bloom. On her cupped, curled, coal-lined eyelids, similes smile. On each eyelash, metaphors arch, waiting to flutter. On her bosom's electric silk fabric, secret lyrics are bloused. Her limbs' slender extension tips decant arias. Tumris sing, soar. Her balletic grace liquid. She dances on water always afloat. Even Khusro and Kabir, stunned, tongue-tied, searchingly compete to compose couplets for this dancer's next movement. Pupils wide-eyed, she cajoles, seeking her lover. Hidden in the dancer's heart, the beloved quietly resides. Pico Iyer has just come out with this wonderful book called Provocations in Silence, how much we have in spaces called silence. So let me just read out, he's one of my favorite writers. Let me just read out a poem called Silence, which of course is very intrinsically linked with the subject we are talking about. Because it's, when we think of white, white is not absence of color. White is the inclusion of all colors. It's only when you refract white that you get all the colors. Silence. Silence has its own subtle color. Between each breath pause, heat simmers, latent saliva, tongue entwined lisp. Here and there, errant clouds wait, yearning for rain, desire melting even silence to words. Words color bleed incarnadine as your lips whisper softly the secrets of your silence. Your fine chicken blouse, white, sheer, and almost transparent, cannot hide the quiet of your heartbeat on your wheat olive skin. The milk-white flower adorning your hair sheds a solitary petal, just one. In that petal, silence blooms color, white, transparent white, pure white silence. One of the things that we do, Shukriya, one of the things that we do is we assign too much weightage to a particular rasa, forgetting that the navrasas actually coexist in a spectral form simultaneously. It's only at a particular point in a milli-nanosecond that you see a rasa, whether it's Shringara or whatever it is. So the holistic aspect of it is very, very important. And since people put eroticism as something that we wouldn't want to talk about, it's about love and the other thing, someone said, the other thing. I find it very, very curious because erotic life and the way it is in the Indian art is so visible to the naked eye when it came to medieval and ancient architecture. Go to any temple, there'll be friezes showing you things which a modern pornography novel, which is not going to be even explicate that. So let me just read a little poem called Desire. And if people are very, very embarrassed, I would say buy some burqa. It's also to do with, as Jatin paints on his beautiful canvases and contis, one stroke can be so erotic, but one stroke can be so humanly private. It could be a blessing. The body is to be worshipped in some ways. So let me just read Desire. Let me just find it. Came out, it's in the Open magazine, the current issue, which is the double issue. And it's another take on, since we are talking Shringara, love. A magazine like this goes to various people's homes. I'm sure these 2 pages were wasted because they read the politics and they read everything else. But they, in the year-end issue, they do carry 2 poems and a short story. So very lucky that it's there. One of my favorite poets, like many of you, is Pablo Neruda. I know a lot of Indians like Octavio Paz and Pablo Neruda. And that wonderful, wonderful poem, Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Lines. I mean, it's just incredibly sad, moving, erotic, spiritual, all at the same time. So partly it's a homage to that particular poem. It's simply called Today I Must Write About Love. Today I want to write about love, of love's past and present, maybe future. I want to remember, write about good things, not about what did not work or ended, nor the fights or misunderstandings. I want to dream of love's goodness, its sense of nurture, companionship, calm, not the wild fantasies, loyal lust, or electric desires. Today I want to write about love in the morning, not late at night. I want to wake up early despite my body clock, reclaim what dawn bestows on us before we are awake. Today I will sit down on my trusted blanched driftwood, accidentally wedged between two jagged rocks, whose slow fraying volcanic ash tries to colonize its color. I want to etch letters of love on her white bark before she floats oceanwards, leaving only memories. Today I want to write on love, on paper made of bamboo, whose grainy imperfections remind us of life's unpredictable law. As I unscrew the top of the glass ink bottle, the purple haze of my favorite ink fumes. I stretch the first sheet of paper, start writing the letters upside down, hoping the ones I intimately loved will decipher the mirror image secrets, their truths under the lens of their sight. It is now the day's end. I've written copiously on sheaves and sheaves of off-white petal-flecked paper. My amassed cursive script glows in the dark, deep orange, blue tinge, raw light. The black lava sand on the beach murmurs, the ocean is restless, the high tide hungry. It is time to gather all the letters and poems of love that I've scribbled and head home. But I must write one more line, a line that eluded me all my life. That transparent phrase formed of liquid letters floating in front of my eyes, impossible to pen down on paper despite its gravity. The light is fading fast. The loose pages I've written on try hard to disengage themselves in the evening's gathering wind. I start attempting to write that elusive line, and before I can end with the flourish of a full stop, an unexpected wave rushes towards me. And even as I gather all my words, it washes over them. As the wave retreats, I pick up the saline-soaked pages. The waters have taken all my words away. All my script's slanted ink has been washed off by the ocean's acrid, unbenign waters. I stare at the smudged pages, all my words gone, and love too. A pack of stray beach dogs appear. I count 17 of them, rushing towards the scattered papers, mistaking them for food, for love. They ruthlessly paw at them, scratch and devour them. I see the canines are satiated, albeit temporarily. I wanted to write about love today, and I did. But the sea, the wind, the black sand I so love have taken my lines away from me. I try to write about love. That unfinished, unwritten line eludes me always. Perhaps I was never meant to write about Shringara or love.
All right. I was hoping that we will have more than 5 minutes to have this kind of conversation. I was hoping that we will have more than 5 minutes to have kind of conversation with the panelists here, but unfortunately we are running short of time. But I'm going to still steal 5 to 10 minutes. Young people first. Any questions, any remarks, any comments, Any thoughts? Unless you thought that, what nonsense are they talking about?
I want to ask Jatin sir, can abstract art be a form of Shringara? Can we say abstract art as a Shringara?
What is art? Quite often people ask,
There.
you know, what are you doing? I say, I'm working. You know? Bless you. The point is, everything is an art. Every aspect of life is an art. Whether talking, dancing, writing, driving, singing, painting, everything is art. We have a wrong notion. Of course, there are three forms of art: the literary arts, the performing arts, and the visual art. And this is again a Western concept. Again a Western concept. And likewise, now your question, sorry, come again.
Abstract art.
Abstract.
Shringara.
Figurative art and abstract art. The figurative can be abstract, abstract can be also figurative. So, meaning recognizability, you know. So, I think for everything we must go to the roots, for everything that we discuss, and share. I don't know. As I said, when I sit down to draw and look at a lovely sheet of paper, and it's cruel to touch and to draw on it, and as if you have not drawn before, then only something can happen. And I'm not saying it in a romantic, in a artistic way, but it's truthfully, that when I sit down to draw, I don't know what to draw. Yeah? Or it comes spontaneously, immediately, or you can't, and then you put the sheet away. Likewise, about everything, let's question, like having 3 meals a day, like there's a time for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And some Jain Munis have 1 meal a day. There's a doctor whom I met recently, he has 1 meal a day. He doesn't have breakfast, lunch, only 1 meal a day. So likewise, so there is a rhythm to it. You know, let me give you a different, when a young person of 20 comes to my studio and I get up and do a namaskar, he sits there and says, hi. So I say, what you do? She says, I'm an artist. I get very scared. You know, in my 50s, 60s, 70s, I wrote, I'm a painter, I want to become an artist. This country, not only this country, it's there, and if you scratch in every country, everywhere, you can find the gold and diamond. So, to be an artist, you have to be like Krishna, Chausati Kala. Like, look, from that point of view. Or you need 2-3 lives to become an artist. When I say artist, I don't mean just painter in anything. So, somebody who's doing gardening, somebody who's doing weaving. A master weaver is holding a thread and the wife comes and says, it's 3:30 now, we have not come for lunch. He said, I'm holding the thread, how can I leave it? I have to tie it before I come. So there is a dedication, there's an involvement, there's a love, there's a passion, and for everything that we do. But we don't have this anymore. We are too much. I asked somebody to come and work for me as a research assistant. The next question everybody asks, how much will you pay? Mm-hmm. So I say, I'll pay, but I want that person to fly aeroplane. Does she know? Or does he know? So what I'm saying is, the time has come, we are good friends, but we don't know each other fully well. Do we have breakfast together? Do we have lunch? Do we have dinner? Do we go to every concert together? Do we go to a dance, to a painting exhibition? Have you seen the work being done? So, intimately knowing, if you really think, maybe 2-3 people we know. We know many others. We know thousands of people. So when you come back to the rasa, talking of Shringara rasa, as he's put it rightly, you can't talk about the one without the other.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So,
That's
so
the main thing, that you can't look at Shringar without, because
can
Shringar
I
is
add
all,
one or two lines?
all
Please.
your time will come. Sorry, I want to basically
No, but this is,
just one
this
second.
is my request is
We'll come to
in future, my request, I've attended innumerable get-together discussion, etc. We should have a discussion where the Rasika also should participate and develop the subject. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think someone who is
No. Any more comments from the back there? Okay.
no, my turn.
Sandeep.
But let me tell you, when we say Shringar instantly, and the first name which comes into mind is makeup. That's what it means. And in this context, Shringar means decoration. Decorating from individual to decorating life. And all these are the mediums of decorating and getting pleasure out of it. This is called Shringar, whether it is dance, drama, music, painting, poetry, teaching, even managing these mediums as a manager for these is also a Shringar.
Great.
So this is in my language, and in ultra-modern language, Shringar makes us glamorous. So anything which adds on glamour to your life is Shringar today. Luckily, I am from cinema, and cinema carries anything and everything what we are talking today. It is the biggest version of Shringar today. Dance,
Yes.
drama, music.
We can
painting,
make out that
poetry.
you are a production man. We can
No, I'm just giving you this idea. And that reminds me 2 lines which I would love to recite, because after I got inspiration from you. कि हम तेरे हो चुके हैं, जब चाहे आजमा ले, नजरें तो मिल चुकी हैं, अब दिल से दिल मिला ले. ऐ शम्मा तेरी खातिर परवाना बन गया हूँ, जरा देख ले आकर दीवाना बन गया हूँ, सजदे में गिर गया हूँ, अब तो जरा उठा ले, हम तेरे हो चुके हैं, जब चाहे आजमा ले.
Wow.
बहुत अच्छा. क्या बात. Okay, in the interest of time, are there? Yeah.
When you read Thumak Chalat Ramchandra Bajat Pajan,
Who are you asking?
I'm asking it. I'm not
Everybody.
asking anybody
Achha, yeah.
anything. We're just discussing things further.
Correct.
And getting to understand another facet of it. When you say Thumak Chalat Ramchandra Bajat Pajan, and we all imagine that little Rama, and we are full of emotion and passion and devotion for them. But when I want to, listen to a particular tune on Spotify, which is called Kama Sutra, which is nothing about, that erotic love, but just a set of tunes. Why do I have to hide my phone screen and keep it upside down when I want to listen those ennobling, peaceful and, calming music? And when we see all these temples with all those, sculpture and all those decorated, and then Ajanta और एलोरा की जब हम गुफाओं की बात करते हैं और उसमें श्रृंगार रस का जब हम एकदम सचित्र विवरण देखते हैं, उसके लिए हम सब के अंदर एक प्रशंसा वाला भाव होता है. But when it comes to, I would candidly admit there was one of my friends who says, don't make friends with Jatin Das. He is dealing into making statues.
You don't respond to
I
that.
no offense. This is just my sense of humor. I'm saying it. Because he is dealing into that, because he is appreciating and he is a worshipper of beauty and he is creating pieces of beauty, a person is morally judged. This is what I'm getting at. Why do we morally judge people? Why, when we talk about those certain things, it becomes a taboo. It's again
इस
Shringara.
बात का जवाब आप ही दीजिए क्यों? नहीं मैं पूछता
मतलब
हूँ
हम
वाकई में क्यों?
किसी भी विषय में किसी भी चीज के साथ या किसी भी व्यक्ति के साथ या प्रकृति के किसी भी अंग के साथ जब हम एकाकार महसूस करते हैं, that is what Shringara is all about.
I think we need to look into our own selves,
Yeah.
that everyone has their own little pockets of insecurity, mental insecurity, and therefore this is just but let's leave it at that. Yes.
Sohaila, do you?
Sohaila wanted to say something, and we have another.
Please, I wanted you to say something on this. जो उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर हम तो उसमें ये हेजिटेशन क्यों होता है हमको?
आई थिंक अब हेजिटेशन कम होना शुरू हुआ है विद द न्यू जनरेशन. शायद मेरी जनरेशन और उससे पहले की जनरेशन थोड़ी हेजिटेशन होती थी, हमें भी होती थी. सोसाइटल नॉर्म्स, यू ऑलवेज हैड द पिक्चर ऑफ योर पेरेंट्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. यू नो, आप प्ले कुछ कर रहे हो तो इरोटिक मत डालो, आपके टीचर्स आ रहे हैं, आपके पेरेंट्स आ रहे हैं. पर आज की जनरेशन में आई डोंट थिंक दैट हेजिटेशन इज़ देयर.
पानी दिया बूंदा तड़े पिंडे से मलंगी, वो जो है उस तरह की चीजें जो हैं, so we don't mind reading them. It evokes love, it evokes kindness, it evokes various shades of love. But when it comes to personal, perspective, then we tend to behave something as who we actually are not.
I have a certain thing to say on that. I'm sorry, my personal opinion. And I think that is where Jatin, sorry, I'm good. And after this, I think we are running out of time. So very, very just one sentence. I agree with Jatin. The way we have been educated, our education has completely divorced us from the nature. We have lost faith in our own values. We have lost faith in what our own civilization was. And therefore, for a long time, खजुराहो को देख करके बोलते थे, छी क्या देख रहे हैं आप ये. और उसी को देखने के लिए जब बाहर से लोगों ने आना शुरू किया, हम लोगों ने कहना शुरू, अरे वाह देखिए क्या बढ़िया स्कल्पचर है ये. Our value changed, but basically we lost ourselves somewhere down the line. मैं sorry, I don't want to start a discussion on this, क्योंकि अब शोभना ने मेरे को डराना शुरू कर दिया है ये. तो we have to end the discussion here, Shobhana.
Yes, we have to end the discussion here. And may I request Madhura Phatak to come? Madhura Phatak, she's Pune-based Kathak dancer who has learned, and she, Madhura ji, to take, she will bring in another aspect of Shringara. We will all sit over here and see her. I would just like to mention, on an aside, we are talking about Navras. Navras has become accepted. But when Bharat wrote the Natya Shastra, it was Ashtaras. And that Ashtaras was there for a very long time, for a number of centuries before it became Navras. That was just an aside. That's Madhura Phatak, Kathak dancer. She's come from Pune. And
it's very cold here.
She will be reviving the old tradition of Baithaki Bhaav, where she would be singing and emoting and giving the different, what we call Bhaav Batana in the Kathak style. Ki ek shabd, one word or one phrase or one sentence or can be expressed in so many different ways, philosophically, synonymous, in any matter.
गुरु चरणन में ध्यान लगाऊं, गुरु चरणन में ध्यान लगाऊं, ऐसी सुमति दे मेरे दाता, गुरु चरणन मैं अज्ञानी तिमिर बहुत हूँ, मैं अज्ञानी तिमिर बहुत हूँ, खान ज्ञान की गुरु होत है, किस विध दर्शन पाऊँ मैं दाता, गुरु चरणन में ध्यान लगाऊं। तो ये है कथक, जो परंपरागत इन्वोकेशन से, प्रार्थना से शुरू होता है। और कथक की मेन भूमिका ही यही रही है कि आपको जो शुद्ध है, अनुपम है, जो शुद्ध है, अनुपम है, जो दिव्य है, उसकी तरफ ले जाना। और यही श्रृंगार भी है। मेरी कल्पना में श्रृंगार एक रस ज़रूर है जो नाट्यशास्त्र में बोला गया है, बट ये एक यात्रा है हम सबकी, जिसमें अनेक अनेक भाव है, अनेक अनेक रस है। और ये यात्रा है खोज उसी की, शुद्धता की, अनुपम जो है उसकी, दिव्यता की। और ये यात्रा हमारी निरंतर चलती रहती है। कुछ पद मैंने प्रचलित है, उनको मैंने चुना है क्योंकि मुझे उसमें सालों साल उनको सुनती आई हूँ, तो उसमें मुझे बहुत बहुत कुछ मिला उससे, और वही आज यहाँ पर देने की कोशिश करूँगी। श्रृंगार जब भी कहते हैं, आराम से बैठ जाओ, थोड़ा ऐसे सबको नज़र आ रहा है? हमें भी नज़र आ रहा है जी।
सर्दी भी कम लगेगी।
वो भाव कैसे होगा फिर? थोड़ा और
शॉल ले लो आप।
सुनाई दे रहा है जी? अब दे रहा है, दिखाई दे रहा है सब? जतिन जी बहुत सालों बाद मिल रही हूँ, सोहेला जी बहुत सालों बाद। तो ये सारे गुरुतुल्य जो मेरे यहाँ बैठे हैं, मेरी गुरु, और आप सब भी गुरुतुल्य है मेरे लिए। तो आपको प्रणाम करते हुए मैं आज अपनी श्रृंगार की कल्पना आपके सामने छोटी छोटी प्रस्तुत करूँगी। 20 मिनट का टाइम दे दीजिए आप मुझे पता है ठंड है, सबको घर जाना है। तो श्रृंगार जब भी कहते हैं, मेरे सामने तो कृष्ण आते हैं। कृष्ण को या ईश्वर को भक्तवत्सल कहा गया है। जो ईश्वर है वो भक्तवत्सल है, और कभी कभी भक्ति में हम इतना डूब जाते हैं कि हम ईश्वर को आशीर्वाद देने शुरू हो जाते हैं। सूरदास जी कहते हैं, रानी तेरो चिर जीवो गोपाल। रानी कौन है यहाँ पर? यशोदा। रानी तेरो चिर जीवो गोपाल, उपजी पड़ो बहु कोखी भाग्य तेरो, उपजी पड़ो बहु कोखी भाग्य तेरो, समुद्र सीप जैसे लाल। ये कोख जो है तुम्हारी, उसमें लाल जो है गोपाल, वो है समुद्र के सीप जैसे। समुद्र का सीप जिसके ऊपर लहरें आती है जाती है, उसको कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता। और ये भवसागर में जो है, ये विशाल भवसागर, हम उसमें डर भी जाते हैं, सहम भी जाते हैं, लेकिन उसमें गोपाल कैसे है? शांत, एक सीप की तरह। उसी में से निकल आता है मोती जो दिव्य है। उपजी पड़ो बहु कोखी भाग्य तेरो, समुद्र सीप जैसे लाल। दीप जैसे लाल। कैसे है वो लाल? सब गोकुल के प्राण जीवन धन, सब गोकुल के जिसमें प्राण बसते हैं वो छोटे से नन्हे से गोपाल। सब गोकुल के प्राण जीवन धन, बैरीन के पुरसाल, चिरजीवो गोपाल गोपाल। ऐसे ये गोपाल है जो चिर जीता रहा। श्रृंगार की यात्रा प्रेममयी तो है, इसमें ऑफ कोर्स विडेकासल सब ये तो है ही, करते आए हैं, लेकिन ये यात्रा ना सरल नहीं है। उसमें क्या है? हमारा अहंकार है, अभिमान है, लज्जा है, क्रोध है, भय है। जब तक इसको पार नहीं करेंगे श्रृंगार कैसे मिलेगा? तो एक कथा है छोटी सी। बांसुरी, सबको पता है बांसुरी, ये कृष्ण की अति प्रिय है। और एक बार क्या हुआ, सारी गोपियों को बहुत ही गुस्सा आया कि बार बार बांसुरी को लेकर के बैठे रहते हैं, हालांकि उसी बांसुरी से वो सबको नचाते हैं, सबको उसी धुन पे नचाते हैं। असूया, जिसको हम कभी देखना नहीं चाहते, उसको भी प्यार करना है श्रृंगार के लिए। रे बंसी, पूछ रही है बंसी से, रे बंसी कौन तपते कियो, रे बंसी। बहुत बढ़िया। रे बंसी कौन तपते कियो, गिरिधर के तुम मुख ही लागी। गिरिधर के तुम मुख ही लागी, गिरिधर के तुम मुख ही लागी। अधरन को रस पियो, अधरन को रस पियो, री बंसी कौन तपते कियो, श्याम सुंदर कमल लोचन। अब देखिए भावना में मुझे जो प्रतीत होता है वो ये है कि यहाँ राधा और गोपी है जो कृष्ण कृष्ण और उसकी असूया कर रही है। कृष्ण क्या कह रहे हैं बांसुरी के थ्रू? राधा, परहैप्स, वी डोंट नो। राधा, बांसुरी। श्याम सुंदर कमल लोचन, श्याम 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 श्याम, ये बांसुरी है। श्याम 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 ही बोल रही है। श्याम सुंदर कमल लोचन, श्याम सुंदर कमल लोचन, तो ही तन मन दियो, तो ही तन मन दियो, कियो। थोड़े विचार करने की बात है, बंसी है क्या? ये शरीर बंसी है, उसमें सांस चल रही है, 7 चक्र है, शायद आगे भी है, और उसी में सुर चल रहे हैं, उसी में जीवन की यात्रा हो रही है। और यहाँ से अगर श्याम और कृष्ण कहते रहे तो जीवन क्या बन जाएगा? बंसी। यहाँ आती है अलग भाव, री बंसी कौन तपते कियो। थोड़ा हमें भी बताओ ना, री बंसी कौन तपते कियो, कौन तपते कियो, कौन तपते कियो। आगे कुछ करूँ? एक और। तो श्रृंगार है, प्रेम है, तो उसके पाने के लिए त्याग भी है, सब कुछ है। लेकिन जहाँ श्रृंगार है वही वैराग्य भी है। गोपाल के लिए महादेव सारा कुछ छोड़ करके बैठ गए, और एक थी मीरा जो सब कुछ त्याग करके बैठ गई। आस इतनी हो गई कि शरीर शरीर न रहा, सिर्फ सांस में कृष्ण को याद कर रहे हैं। लास्ट पद भैरवी में सुना रही हूँ। कुछ त्रुटियां है तो माफ़ कर दीजिए, मैं ट्रेन गायिका बिल्कुल ही नहीं हूँ, तो सॉरी। कोई कहियो रे प्रभु आवन की, कोई कहियो रे प्रभु आवन की, आवन की मन भावन की, आवन की मन भावन की। आप न आए लिख नहीं भेजो, खुद नहीं आए और कोई चिट्ठी भी नहीं भेजी। आप न आए लिख नहीं भेजो, क्या हाल है? बान पड़ी ललचावन की। मन में लालच हो रहा है कि उनको मैं कब देखूं अपनी आंखों से। बान पड़ी ललचावन की, ये दो नैना कहो नहीं माने, ये दो नैना कहो नहीं माने, नदी बहे जस सावन की। बाढ़ आ जाएगी इतने आंसू है। नदी बहे जस सावन की, आवन की मन भावन की। कोई कहियो रे, कोई कहियो रे प्रभु आवन की, आवन की मन भावन की। का करूं कछु बस नहीं मेरो, का करूं कछु बस नहीं मेरो। क्या बस में नहीं है मेरे? पंख नहीं उड़ जावन की। पंख होते तो मैं एक शरीर त्याग के कब की चली जाती। का करूं कछु बस नहीं मेरो, पंख नहीं उड़ जावन के। मीरा कहे प्रभु कब रे मिलोगे, मीरा कहे प्रभु कब रे मिलोगे। चीर भई हूँ बिना दामन की, शरीर नहीं है। चीर भई हूँ बिन दामन की, आवन की मन भावन की, आवन की मन भावन की।
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. And as Jatin said, we will incorporate some suggestions. We will have some more comments from the audience next time, so that we can have an interactive dialogue as we go along. Thank you very much, and thank you, dear speakers, and thank you, Sureshji, Jatin, Madhura. Thank you.
I think one thing I would like to say, the highlight of today's evening was Madhura Phatak. And as they say, Sohaila ji is also here. I attended her program on all the three brothers, all the three brothers, and it was a wonderful program. And I, being a big Devyani fan,